Okay, this section is going to talk about transformations. Now, all transformations are changes that are made to the equations that affect the graph. For example, here's our original graph, this one in red right here. Right, this graph right here, it's exponential, it's growing, you can see it's asymptote. Asymptote's going on right here. Right? You can see the original graph at that one right there. It's actually f of x equals 2 to the x. Doesn't matter though. What I want you to look at is these other graphs and try and tell me what kind of transformation has been made. There's 3 that we're going to talk about. Vertical, oops, forgot to change back to a regular line. There's vertical shifts. Shifts just means moving it. Vertically would be moving it up or down. Then there's horizontal shifts. Horizontal meaning left and right. So if I were to move the graph to the left or to the right, that would be considered a horizontal shift. And then reflections are just like it sounds. It reflects, so that means it flips over either the x-axis, like literally it flops right over on the other side, or the y-axis. And you'll have to specify in your answers when it comes to this, but it's really easy to tell the difference. Okay, so looking at this first one right here, I look at it and I look at the original red one, and my first thought is, well, look, here's the y-axis, and now here's the y-axis clear over here. So it looks like that graph has actually been moved to the left. Moved left would be a horizontal shift because that's left or right. I'm just going to write H by it so we can remember it was horizontal. Okay, moving over here to the right one. Okay, looking at the original, this red one, it's on top, right? It's on top, but this one all of a sudden is on bottom. It looks to me like it is flipped over this line right here. That guy is the x-axis, so it's a reflection, and we would say it's over the x-axis. All right, next one, this middle guy right here. Looking at the red one, okay, asymptote, or sorry, the y-axis isn't different, right? They're basically on the same spot as the y-axis. That guy hasn't moved. I do notice, though, that this guy in the middle, his asymptote is actually down here now at 3, right? Y equals 3, or negative 3, sorry. Y equals negative 3 is the asymptote now. So instead of it moving away from the y-axis or flipping over something, this one's actually moved down. Here was the original asymptote, right? The original guy had an asymptote right here, and it's now been moved down. Well, if the asymptote moved, that means the whole graph moved. So this one right here, we would say had moved down, and up and down is a vertical shift. Okay, looking at this next one right here. Okay, I look at the original over here on the left. This one right here is exponential, and we decided it was growth. But when I look at this one, it looks like it's decay. So I changed something that made it go in the reverse direction. Kind of like I flipped it, but this time I'm flipping it over this axis, right? Here's the y-axis. If you can picture this function flipping over, now this curvy part is over here on the left, and the asymptote line is coming down over here on the right. So this one again has been, it's a reflection. This time it's over the x-axis, or sorry, the y-axis this time. So 2 types of reflections. Depends on which axis you're flipping over. All right, let's look at this one over here. This blue line. Okay, the original one, the one I have drawn in orange now. Again, this axis is moved, right? This y-axis is now farther on the left. The graph looks like it has moved that way this time. So it has moved right. Then moving right, well, that's a horizontal, so we would say that's a horizontal shift. Okay, this one right here, original, looking at it, I look at it and I go, wait a minute, this guy has a different asymptote. His asymptote is at y equals 1, and we started out with an asymptote at y equals 0. So obviously the graph has to have been moved up because that asymptote picked up and moved. If the asymptote moves, then you're moving either up or down. So this one would be, let's see, it's vertical. So 3 basic transformations that we're going to talk about now: the vertical shifts, horizontal shift, and reflections. Each one of them have 2 options. It's either an up and down for vertical, left or right for horizontal, and reflections, it just depends on which axis you're actually flipping over. All right, let's look at some of these. Vertical shifts. Now I told you that transformations just mean you've made some kind of change to the equation, to the function, and it's resulted in a change in the graph. So vertical shifts, the up or down ones, I'm going to write notes down here at the bottom. Things to help us remember and what to look for to identify these. So these are the ones where it moves up or down. Now, here's the easiest way for these, is identify where the asymptote is of the original, right? The asymptote here is at y equals 0. That's pretty standard for the original ones. That's your asymptote. But how about this next one over here? His asymptote. Well, looking, riding along the graph, all of a sudden I hit a wall. Right there, my new asymptote is at y equals -3. So my asymptote has changed, and it has gone from 0 down to -3. And if you notice up here in the equation, we put a little -3 at the end of it. That's another way of telling how it is. So for your vertical shifts, look at the asymptotes. This is the easiest way to identify your vertical shifts. Look at the asymptotes. Has it changed? Has it changed? Yes, that means there was some kind of vertical shift. So graph-wise, literally looking at those asymptotes, that's the only thing that affects those asymptotes, is moving up and down on the graph. That's the only thing that will make them move, is some kind of vertical shift up or down. Okay, this next one has 2x. This time it says +1. And if you look at the graph, now our asymptote is up here at y equals 1. So it has moved up 1. And that's it. So up or down, depending on how much it moves, those asymptotes will tell you how much it's moved, or if it even has moved up or down. Look at the asymptotes for these vertical shifts.